open the council meeting for the 21st of August. We will start off with our karakia.
Whakatakata hau ki te uru, whakatakata hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina kina ki uta, kia mā tātara ki tai, e he ake ana, atakura, he tua, he huka, he hauhu, Māori ora. Go to Black Ferns.
Thank you. Remind we're being live streamed, so use your microphones. I haven't received any apologies, but I'll notice Taku for lateness because I haven't heard from him this morning, so I'll move that. Seconded by Councillor Hayward. All those in favour? All those against? Carried. We have got no public forum this morning. Any conflicts of interest from anyone? Nope. I've got no notifications of extraordinary business, so confirmation of minutes from the 31st of July. I will put it on the table, seconded by Councillor Duncan. Any issues for anybody? All those in favour? All those against? Carried. Report of the Mayor. Slower month since the election season's opened, and you'll see the cluttering of our billboards around the city. I've had police graduation, 87 new recruits with Dame Nolene Tarua as the patron. Bizizi celebration, which was lots of new businesses. I was very impressed with the number of new businesses, the startups from home, so that was really good. We had the Church of Jesus Christ Temple groundbreaking ceremony with Winston Peters. That was a large event. Cook Island flag raising. Citizenship, we swore another 70 candidates in. Te Kiwanui Festival, 2 great days of performances. Absolutely packed stadium each time with a waiting list. I've had Honourable Chris Bishop out to Ole for the Football Academy, check that out. Kylie and I joined the Aotea College Girls Sports Day. I just went to do certificates and prizes. Kylie did umpiring and stayed for the day. We had the Whitby pump track officially opened and blessed by Taku. That was a huge event, and I can tell you there is kids there 24/7 at the moment. Ross and I went to the community planting day at Papakowhai where 2,400 plants were put in. I had Porirua, I had talent, and we do have a lot of talent. Those kids were absolutely awesome. Tongan flag raising, and then we had the Rotary School Leadership Awards this week with Kylie and Mose doing an awesome job as MCs. And then I joined Chris Bishop at Parliament for the Whitby Collegiate Sport and Academic Achievements, which was a great evening. Nice to see so many kids doing so well. No taku, I've got no petitions, so committee recommendations. Councillor Leggett.
Thank you, Mayor Baker. Yes, I'd like to move that the minutes of Te Puna Kororo of the 1st of May and the 7th of be accepted.
Okay, who's going to second that? Councillor Trillin, any issues for anyone? All those in favour? Those against? Carried. You did both then, didn't you? Yeah. Okay, adoption of Water Services Delivery Plan 11.1. I'd like to note this is significant of this report. It's a milestone in the evolution of local government, which will never look the same again after water reform. It could well herald further changes too. This is the biggest change to our sector for decades, and I think the long-term outcome will be positive for our communities and for our environment, appreciating that it's also going to cost more in the future. But I'm proud what have we got to here, and I want to congratulate officers, especially Wendy and Olivia, for having arrived at this picture today, this juncture where we are today. I will note that Lower Hutt and Wellington have already signed it off. I'm not sure when Upper Hutt do it. Oh, yesterday, so everyone's over the line. So it's up to Porirua today. So I'm going to move it. Greater Wellington. Okay, seconded by Councillor Hayward. So, Olivia, over to you, or do you just, yeah? No? Mm-hmm. Have you got anything to say, or do you just want questions? Questions, okay. Questions or comments, I'll take either.
Okay.
Councillor Hayward.
I do have questions regarding the documents on notice, but I will take a moment to have a comment at the end if possible.
Not a problem.
Kia ora, kore maitu mihi kai, kanahira, me, ngā mihi ki te mahi o tātou kai mahi. Thank you for the items on the report. I want us to turn to attachment 8 in the language around the proposed consumer charter. As you recall, this, by means of context, this relates to the issues that I have raised both here and have been discussed at other councils around a water charter. In the workshop, both closed and open, I have made comment in terms of reflection that the elements of the water charter have been integrated into the foundational documents, and I thank officers across all of the councils for ensuring that those have been incorporated. In the last workshop, I mentioned that I could not find any explicit language to the role of the living wage. That has been resolved in Attachment 8 as well. Thank you for that. What I am unclear about, and my question relates to, is it would appear from my reading that there are two parts to this attachment, those which will be incorporated directly into a consumer charter, and part two, which relates to more ancillary matters, or certainly, while referenced, don't seem to give me a sense of where those are going to end up, nor what the language is going to be around those. Can officers provide some commentary around part two of that document with particular regard to the living wage for those who are employed by this new entity? Kia ora.
Thank you, Councillor Hayward. The purpose of Attachment 8 is to give the establishment team and the incoming board and incoming chief executive a set of starting principles to develop the customer charter. This is a starter for 10. We're fully expecting that it will be adjusted and tweaked to suit a range of inputs over the next 6 or 8 months. So noting that it is a starter and a set of high-level principles, it's not perfect, and it will be back to a range of people over the next 6 months to continue to finesse the language over time.
Brief comment on this. Thank you very much for that answer. It resolves my concerns about how the new entity will work to incorporate the principles of a water charter that had been passed at this council table. It is crucial in terms of showing that as well to the public and responding to the concerns that the uncertainty of a new water service delivery provider has for everybody who is going to be affected by this. One more comment briefly. I note that this is inside of a political context. It would not be, we have had policy whiplash on this from both a Labour and National Party governments. In both instances, they contend that the status quo is unsustainable. Our council has been consistent on that issue. There is a burden that is going to be met by all of us who utilise water, and that cost would appear, based on today's newspaper articles, to be slightly higher under the National Local Water Done Well plan compared to the preceding Three Waters plan. Nevertheless, the cost is going to be significantly less than if we maintain the status quo. And part of those issues are to be resolved through the work that we have done on a water charter to protect people who use water and the whenua upon which it is taken from and returned to. Kia ora.
Councillor Leggett.
Thank you. Just a question. Page 265, it talks about transition planning and the third tier managers moving over. I understand that, day one. What happens to the tier, how does the tier 2 managers handled?
It hasn't been entirely resolved yet, but the intention is that the CE and the direct reports to the Chief Executive will be run in a completely open and new process. So there'll be no expectation that anyone in those current roles would move across.
I understand that, but I guess there's the potential that if those tier 2 managers, any of them, do obtain a role, then and move, it could leave a gaping hole in Wellington Water.
There would absolutely need to be some sort of transition arrangements should that scenario occur.
But that's been considered and will be handled. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, early days.
Yeah.
And working through that people transition process.
Yeah. Okay. And so the only other comment, I mean, I think this is great. You've done fantastic work. I've said it before. I think we just need to get on with this. I'd worry about some of it being a little bit too prescriptive because this is a new entity and it needs to be able to chart its own course in the future, although we've given them some guidelines. And so I just bring you to a comment about lawyers. I thought Simpson Grierson's 1.5 page letter was excellent, and it was a fantastic summary of the key issues. And here's an example of a consultant lawyer offering something very simple and straight to the point. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Duncan.
Yeah, mine's just a comment really. I think the work that's been done on this is enormous, and we have a lot to thank our people for, and particularly Wendy and for Olivia there. I think that it's been an amazing effort on your part, and I thank you for what's gone on. The future, it's not going to be cheap for people. It's going to be an expensive exercise, whatever, but we're paying to catch up for a lot of stuff that wasn't done in the past. And so, no, I thank you guys, and I echo your sentiments, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Philo.
Just a quick question. It was good to see in the documentation reference to transparency around the billing, the environment, the mana whenua. Can you just remind me where in here in the documents does it reference affordability for consumers?
The documentation has been quite careful not to use the word affordability.
So there's no mention of affordability in the documentation?
I can't hand on heart tell you that the word affordable was not in the document, but the intention has been quite careful to be careful with the language around affordability.
I think the community charter is pretty much trying to say it's affordable.
I couldn't see it in the community charter, to be honest.
So can I just point out the new economic regulatory environment that we will be entering into also has affordability as probably its prime concern, investment sustainability and affordability. So it's actually in the legislation. And also it will appear in the consumer charter. The issue around the word affordability is that it is not an exact term. It means completely different things to different people. So that is why we have been careful not to use that term, because what does it actually mean?
Councillor Hayward.
Following on from the previous question, perhaps it may help if officers could give some commentary around the use of the language, particularly the word equity, a word that perhaps gets closer to the point that Councillor Fila has raised, especially when there is the potential of inequities with the delivery of water and the affordability that would sit underneath that.
I'm not sure I can give any particular answer to that.
Perhaps I could say that there are at least 2 sections inside the documents on notice that do reference equity challenges, and notwithstanding your point as well, that the other regulators do also have a role with regards to the cost of water service delivery, and notwithstanding that the language also talks about the last resort of removing water supply, which was a principle of the Water Charter that we all passed.
Yes.
I would just add that cost is not the only equity challenge, which is what the Consumer Charter is trying to address, the possible range of issues.
Now, did I miss anybody? Who else? Councillor Trillin.
Thank you very much, Mayor Baker. Most of what I probably would want to say on this, I think I've said plenty of times in the last few months and years, and I won't bore everyone by going over it again, other than just to say this is a significant step in the right direction. We were talking just last week or the week before about how perhaps the The biggest decision, the biggest thing that we're doing this council term is our new district plan. This would be a very close second, if not the first, to be honest, in terms of the long-term legacy of this council. This is the right thing to do. And on the question of affordability, I think we know that the future is going to be difficult from a cost perspective when it comes to water for everyone. There's no shying away from that. But I'm really confident, and I think we can have a lot of confidence, that of any of the options that are on the table in front of us, this is the one that is going to be the best from a perspective of making sure we're getting the infrastructure we need and from keeping costs as reasonable as they possibly can be. Are there going to be challenges? Absolutely. But failing to do this would make things that much worse. So this is responsible from a water perspective. It's responsible from an affordability for our community perspective. It's the right thing to do. I think we can all be incredibly proud of it. I think all of the officers that have been involved in this can be incredibly proud of it. Thank you very much for the hard work that you've done. I will be very enthusiastically supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Waddle.
Yeah, not much more I can add, really. I think it's been pretty well batted around that this is a great step forward. And I think thanks need to go to Olivia, Wendy, Dougal, and the AOG. Was it the OAG or the GOA? I can't remember. There's too many acronyms going around, but I think the whole team of people that have done amazing work to get here, including the colleague to my right here in the initial stages of getting the charter started. I think that's huge work. And it's come to a great point now where we are setting the direction for an entity that sole purpose is water. And when we're talking about affordability and equity, they don't have to weigh up every other aspect of a business to deliver their service. They are to deliver water. It may not be perfect, but it's going to be far better than what we were going to have. And a couple of years ago, we could have already been in a position with water transitioning away, but we've bashed it around. The whiplash is happening. There may still be more whiplash, but it's great to be here and great to get to this point. So well done, everybody.
Thank you. Councillor, are we happy?
Thank you. I echo everybody's comments around the table. I'm not going to lie, I still feel very nervous about something like this and implementation. But I also want to say thank you, or just acknowledge the Mayor and her hard work behind this as well. So thank you.
Want to speak, Councillor Ford? Was that support? Yeah. Okay, thank you, everybody. I do agree. It has been a tough ask, and I'm really proud of the way you guys have all worked as a team to get to this result. Other councils have struggled a bit better, but you have really put the hours in to understand the documents and work out what's going on. And this is a huge change, I think, for the better. And I do, Wendy, Dougal, Olivia, Mike, everybody has put so many hours in, and especially Wendy as the water CE. That job around the country is a tough one, and she is tops in the country, so we're very lucky for the water. Thank you very much. And this change is big, as you said, Josh. It's the second biggest thing we will have done. So, saying that, all those in favour? Yeah. All those against? Carried. Thank you. Submissions of the Local Government System Improvements Amendment Bill. I'm going to move it, seconded by Councillor Ford. Councillor Hayward.
I don't think that there are any proposed questions. I'm happy to move to comment if possible.
Sure.
Kia ora no kurumatu mi ngāmihi ki te kaimahi. So, yes, I want to thank the officers for preparing this submission and the work involved. I agree that the bill is extremely unclear, and officers have done well to show the risks of that ambiguity. So I support the submission that we are putting up. But I also want to be crystal clear with our communities today about why I'm so opposed to the proposed wording of this legislation as a personal reflection. As stated in our paper, the bill outlines the core services that council must prioritise. These are network infrastructure, public transport services, waste management, civil defence emergency management, libraries, museums, reserves and other recreational facilities. So, according to the government, it's not our job to worry about whether people can drink a box of RTDs or whether pokies should be allowed next to schools. They think it's our job to keep people safe from dangerous dogs. Maybe that's because dogs don't vote. They don't think that people who have passed away should have a space where they can live lie in peace, and where whānau can grieve and remember. Perhaps that's because the dead don't pay rates. If someone is disabled when they fall from a collapsed deck because of a dodgy builder, this bill says it's not our job to check that builder's work. If your neighbour keeps you up late at night with their loud music, the government says it's not our job to tell them to quit it. Here's enough apartheid. Whose conscience will it fall upon if it's not our job to fund surf lifesavers at Titahi Bay Beach to patrol the weekdays in summer and someone drowns? Perhaps the government thinks that they should have swum in their own swimming pool. And I have seen no sign that the Beehive is planning to pick up those extra responsibilities either. In fact, the Deputy Prime Minister David Seymour wrote to us asking us to become, in effect, truancy officers with no extra funding at all. So what this bill really says to people in Porirua is simple. If you're not rich and you don't vote, then we don't care. Got a problem with that? Go to Australia. Because to this government, they don't give a stuff about you, and that should make every one of us furious, no matter who you voted for or if you stayed on the couch. This is a demolition bill endorsed by infants, and it will make lives harder. Finally, I want to say directly to Minister Watts, how dare you put your name to this piece of legislation? Get stuffed. Kia ora.
Oh, there wasn't much political in there, was there? But thank you, Councillor Hayward. I have to agree, removal of four well-beings goes against the grain for me, because if you don't have the well-beings, you don't have a city. We can't just do potholes. If you can't have libraries, pools, festivals, who wants to live in a city like that? So I find this very frustrating. We do need to stick to our knitting, and local government is broken, but don't pick on the well-beings. So, Councillor Leggett.
Sorry, all I can say after that political statement, that this has been tried before, council's carried on doing what they need to do, and the same will happen this time.
Anybody else? Yes, Councillor Duncan.
Yeah, look, the submission's great. I think it's a good piece of work, and I agree. The four well-beings aren't what are costing us a lot of money. It's infrastructure that's costing, and that's the big problem.
Anyone else? Okay, so all those in favour? Those against? Carried. 11.3, updates to the reimbursement of elected members' expenses policy. Move it to put on the table. Seconded by Councillor Duncan. Thank you. Open for discussion. Councillor Hayward.
In the language for the proposed policy, there is a process by which elected members will seek funding for security improvements, and this is to be done by an independent assessment. Do we have some idea of what the threshold is for as part of that independent assessment? I would be worried that if a councillor chose not to fund for work, and it became apparent after the fact that actually those improvements may have made their themselves, those representatives, safer.
Right, who's got that one, please, officers? Yep, Jack.
Through the chair, there is no threshold defined in the determination from the authority. If there was any threshold, it's basically that a risk assessment finds it is warranted for that system to be installed.
Sub-question.
Yep.
So the risk assessment is in effect the threshold, because to not have one would mean that there would be no threshold. So what I'm going to ask is, to what end do officers provide guidance to the independent assessment on risk assessment to provide clarity as to what is a justifiable risk that requires that funding to be spent?
Right now, there would be no guidance. If this allowance is claimed, then that will be a process that we'll have to go through. I think the authority will also take guidance from the Clerk of the House, because this is a parliamentary allowance as well, and they deal with that quite a bit.
And no more questions. Suffice to say that obviously this will be an item that we will probably want to keep an eye on when there are subsequent reviews of the relevant policy. Kia ora.
Anyone else? Okay. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. I move that we go into public excluded, seconded by Councillor Waddle. All those in favour? Those against? Carried.